What factors helped Brady Skjei and Scott Wedgewood decide to sign with Nashville? We'll talk about that on today's Locked On Predators podcast.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this Thursday episode with a shout out to our Locked On Pred heads. Those are our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. We appreciate your support, and we love that we get to spend a little bit of your day with you. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer with Penalty Box Radio, and my friends, I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingen, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Yesterday, Emma and I and the rest of the media heard from new Nashville Predators, Brady Skjei and Scott Wedgewood. Today on the show, we're going to share what factored into their decisions to sign with Nashville. We're also going to talk about how we see them fitting into a team that's hoping to make a serious postseason run. And friends, we have the inside scoop. We're going to tell you what country music artists they like. Before we dive into all of that good stuff, I want to let you know today's episode's brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. The sports stop sportsin' like we want them to. But this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, Emma, we had another fun little meet and greet with the media and two new Nashville Predators, Brady Skjei, the Silver Fox himself, and Scott Wedgewood, who I was so thankful no one referred to as Wedgie.
Just wait, it'll happen.
Like, having just come off of raising two teenage boys, I'm going to need a break before I hear the word wedgie again. So.
Well, it was funny because someone asked Skjei if he ever gets his name mispronounced still, and he kind of laughed and said, yeah, Scott did it earlier today. And so I think he said Skjei, so it's like Skjei and Wedgie.
Oh my gosh. Oh no. That's going to stick. Sketchy and Wedgie. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's another reality show we may need on top of the Lausanne Carrier reality show. Yes. Sketchy and Wedgie. That's at least a YouTube channel. But we're going to dive in and talk to you about what they had to say about signing with Nashville. We'll hear from them on this episode as well. Of course, we're going to kick it off talking about Brady Skjei. Brady Skjei, a really big signing for Nashville. Of course, Stamkos, Marchessault tends to kind of overshadow maybe the signing of Brady Skjei, but Barry Trotz was really upfront that top priority for him when free agency hit was to find a standout defenseman that would replace Ryan McDonagh. And I feel like they did a pretty darn good job getting Brady Skjei here.
I mean, I think, to be honest, I think they got an upgrade over Ryan McDonagh. No disrespect, but I mean, Brady Skjei is younger than McDonagh. He's faster. He has more offensive upside. Yes, people don't like the term, but of the contract, I mean, but we've talked about this before. If you want to get a Brady Skjei, you got to offer that term. Like you're not getting him for less than that. And so I think they were able to keep it under $8 million a year. And this was his big payday that he was looking for and that he frankly has earned. I mean, as a 40-point defenseman, or just about, hovering around there over the last 3 seasons, he's shown that consistency, and he's been excellent for Carolina on their penalty kill. He also kind of has that clutch gene where he'll just show up in big moments. And, he's the kind of guy that you want on your team if you're trying to make a legitimate playoff run. So I think that it was a great signing. And like you said, with Barry saying that defense was the priority for us, that should show you, how highly they valued this player, because he was filling, their what they had, acknowledged was their biggest area of need.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting. Skjei talked yesterday about that 7-year term. And, again, some people not big fans of the term, but I thought it was interesting to hear the perspective of a player, because he talked about wanting to sign a deal where he could really settle into a city. He could really settle into a team and settle in with a fan base and really kind of have that be his place. He was with the Rangers, he was with Carolina, spoke very highly of being with Carolina and the experience there. But this is maybe his opportunity to become a major part of what the Nashville Predators are doing now and what they're building in the future. He had talked about, Steven Stamkos and Jonathan Marchessault were kind of these pillars in their teams who have now come to Nashville. And Skjei was like, I'm not really that. But I'm like, you know what? This 7-year deal gives you the opportunity to be that in Nashville. And look, if you're going to sign someone to a 7-year deal, I am loving that it's a defenseman. When you look at some of the younger prospects coming up through the system, this is somebody you want around a long time to help these younger guys come into. So, again, you got to do it to get the deal done. But there is an on-ice upside for the Predators. And it's interesting to hear the off-ice upside, I think, too, for a player who's making a decision about where is my family going to live.
Yeah. And, going back to what he said, that kind of caught my ear too, when he said, well, I'm not that kind of pillar. And it's like, okay, no, was he the franchise legend that Steven Stamkos is? No, but he hasn't been in the league as long. He wasn't drafted by that organization. I mean, those are factors that he can't really control. But I would argue, having, been in Carolina when he was traded there, and seeing how the fan base and the organization just really welcomed him and accepted him. I mean, he was kind of a, maybe more than maybe he was just trying to be humble, and I respect that. But I think, he's beloved there.
Yeah.
In
Yay,
Carolina.
nothing.
Yeah. And so I think that, maybe he doesn't feel that he was a pillar of the organization, but I think that he certainly has the potential to be, especially now with the term that he has here in Nashville.
Yeah. Brady was asked, what were the factors that went into you deciding to sign with Nashville? This is what he had to say about that.
I mean, I've obviously played here as a guest or as a visiting team, and I always knew Nashville's at the top of the list. I've heard other guys say it checks all the boxes, and that's completely true. So I knew it was a team that I wanted to play for, and a team that in the future here has a chance to win. And obviously with the signings that they made on July 1st, that just makes it even more of a place that you want to be. So it was a pretty easy decision for me when I heard them call that I wanted to be here in Nashville.
I love that, as we've talked to Stamkos and yesterday heard from Brady Skjei and Scott Wedgewood, and we've had a video conversation with Marchessault. The thing that you keep hearing people say is Nashville could be a contender. Nashville's going to be a contender. And I feel like even with some of the bigger signings that we've had in the past, Matt Duchene, bringing him in, and, just some of these, we're going to add this one piece kind of guy. Even then, I don't know that it was said as often, and I don't know if it was as believable as it is right now when you hear Steven Stamkos and Brady Skjei say, Nashville, they're going to be a contender.
And Steven Stamkos and Brady Skjei are a big part of why Nashville is going to be a contender.
Yes.
But I think that, yeah, you're right. It's more realistic. It doesn't just feel like lip service now to say that this team can be a contender, because they're actually out making these moves, and certainly they're acting like a contender, and they're making the kinds of moves, because we had said this before. We said it last year, like, this team is not just one guy away. They're not just one move away from being a contender. And based on past spending habits, we would assume that, like, it would take several years for them to get to the point of even being in that contender conversation. Well, they didn't just go get one guy. They went and got three and, plus Scott Wedgewood. And I think that it's, it's now it's like, oh, okay, well, this is is a whole new ball game now. And so I think that it's, it's kind of funny. It's like a chicken and egg thing, because it's like these guys who are coming in, they are a part of what's making Nashville a contender.
Right.
But at the same time, like Nashville, the Predators, Barry Trotz, whoever, needed to have the attitude of, okay, we want to try to be a contender, and that's why we're bringing you in.
Yeah. And it goes back to, again, what you show people in the regular season. And I think what Nashville showed people last season in the regular season with that 18 game point streak, with making it to the playoffs, with how they performed in the playoffs, this is what they want. Like, this is a team that has pieces that want to get there and that could get there. And it does make it an easier sell to a Steven Stamkos. So again, I go back to, it matters what you do in game 47 of the regular season. It matters. People like Steven Stamkos and Brady Skjei, my friends, they are watching. So yeah, it's fun to hear this consistently be said and have it be just a little bit more believable this time. Coming up, we're going to talk about how Brady Skjei's signing can move the needle when it comes to Nashville, especially on special teams. We're also going to talk about Scott Wedgewood, Wedgie himself, heaven help us. We're going to talk about what brought him to Nashville, and he's also going to tell us how he coped with the "you suck, it's all your fault" chants. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Indeed. We're all driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Again, that's Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. So a lot of great things came out of yesterday's media availability with Brady Skjei and Scott Wedgewood. One of the things that I thought was really interesting when you look at adding Brady Skjei to this roster, Barry Trotz has talked about, and I think it's evident to everybody, you don't need to be Scooby-Doo to figure out that the Predators have to do something about special teams. They've got to get better. Of course, you add Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault. That's a big thing for your power play. But I think we have to be careful not to overlook Brady Skjei and special teams. This is a guy who does a little bit of both. Had one power play goal, but 12 power play points last season, and also great penalty killer. He had a shorthanded goal, 18 blocks on the penalty kill. He likes to be out there and kill penalties. So I like this signing for more than just 5-on-5. I really like Brady Skjei and helping to kind of settle and bring something more to special teams next season for the Predators.
Well, you talked about, what Barry Trotz said about how we need to go out and fill this hole that was left by Ryan McDonagh. And a big part of that was on special teams. And
Right.
McDonagh played on the second power play unit. He was on the penalty kill. Like he did it all. And again, they're trying to move away from having so many guys that are doing it all. But now they've gone out and gotten a Steven Stamkos and a Jonathan Marchessault, which kind of eliminates the need for Brady Skjei to be on the power play. And he even kind of said when he was asked about it today, is like, well, do you see yourself on the power play or the penalty kill? And he kind of said, well, I don't see myself jumping ahead of Roman Yossi by any means. So it's like, all right, good. That's a healthy perspective to have. But he kind of talked about how in Carolina, the penalty kill was kind of his specialty, and he was really that was what he was most comfortable with. But of course, definitely has that team first attitude. He's happy to jump in wherever he's needed. But it seemed like if we're looking to specialize these guys on special teams, then it sounds like the penalty kill is where he's going to end up.
Yeah. And I like that there is a spot maybe for him on the second power play unit, but secretly, Emma, I'm like, maybe this is the year where Nashville just scores with the first unit right off the bat and we never see a second unit. I mean, that might be too much to ask for.
We only need one.
You only need one. So it's going to be exciting to watch the power play, but I do think this is a really great signing for the penalty kill as well, and not to discount how important that's going to be for Nashville. Of course, we also heard from Scott Wedgewood, and I thought it was really interesting. He mentioned this kind of in passing, and I don't know if he'll say this in one of the clips that we have, but he talked about, stats don't tell the story necessarily of my performances lately. And I think he's absolutely right. And this is such an interesting role. This is such an interesting goaltending role right now because you've got Saros on this 8-year deal. You've got Yaroslav Askarov chomping at the bit, and you've got to get the right person in there to not only transition between those two goaltenders, but to transition UC Saros from what he has been doing to what, as a goaltender who needs to be here for 8 years, needs to be doing in net. So this Wedgewood signing is under the radar important.
It is. And, I think even if you take out all the other factors you just mentioned, just being a backup goalie is such a unique position to be in. And you have to come into it with a really, unique mindset that's not easy to come by. It's different than what we had with Kevin Lankinen, and we love Kevin Lankinen, but he was in a different time in his career than Scott Wedgewood is. Lankinen still has aspirations to be a starting goaltender somewhere, and I think he's earned that chance. Obviously wasn't going to be here. Scott Wedgewood, it's not to say he doesn't aspire. He's like, I really don't want to play more than 20 games a year. I'm just kind of chilling. No, that's not it. But it's more that he understands his role, and he understands that. And he did mention, I'm glad he said that, because that was in response to the question I asked him about, goaltending development. And he said, like you said, stats don't tell the whole story. And he talked about what I had mentioned here on this show when he signed, which was that, I can play the backup role, but I also have shown that I can, come in and be the starter, be that full-time starter if I need to. He mentioned that streak where he made 11 starts in a row when Jake Ottinger was injured. And he came out of that with 6-2-3 like that. Right. And that is, that's exactly what you want out of your backup goaltender. You want someone who's ready for anything. And it's certainly not to say Lankinen wasn't, but again, thankfully, knock on wood, we never had a situation where we needed Lankinen to be a full-time starter. Now that you're locked in with Saros here, again, you certainly don't want anything to happen to him, but now you can maybe rest a little bit easier just because we know we can give him days off. We know that we can, if God forbid something happens, we know that Wedgewood can step in and fill that role because we've seen him do it before.
And that's something that you can't say about Yaroslav Askarov.
Right.
If you bring Askarov up to be the backup goaltender, what you want from him in that role is to develop his game. When you have Scott Wedgewood as your backup goaltender, what you want from him in that role is to keep this team winning, no matter what. And those are two very different situations. And if Nashville is serious about contending, you've got to get the Wedgewood guy. You've got to have the guy that can do that. And I think, it's easy to overlook this signing. The goaltending situation was so murky for so long, and then you bring in these big names. But Scott Wedgewood is really a key to Nashville being able to cover a potential flurry of situations and scenarios that would still keep Nashville pushing for contention in the postseason. And you can't say that yet about Yaroslav Askarov yet, y'all. Just
Yes.
said yet. Yeah. Coming up, we are going to hear from Scott Wedgewood. He just is very frank about how he coped hearing the "You suck, it's all your fault" chant. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Look, we all love the sports. We want the sports to keep going. We don't want them to stop. But hey, we know the playoffs have wound down for the NHL. We've got fewer games going on. And the sports, they just are not sportsin' like we want them to. But FanDuel is going to let you keep sports going whenever you want. All you have to do is open up the FanDuel app and dream up bets anytime you're in the mood. Look, we are big WNBA fans here. And of course, let's not forget Major League Baseball alive and well and going. And you can check out all that action at FanDuel. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all their customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. All right, Emma, this is one of those questions that I love that when we get to ask opposing goaltenders. Scott Wedgewood was talking about, somebody was asking him about like having played here and now you're going to be on the same team. And he kind of referenced the whole "you suck, it's all your fault" experience. This is what he had to say about that.
Yeah, never fun to be told you suck, but the chants are part of hockey. I didn't play college hockey, but visited a lot of those games, and they do the crowd chants and things like that. But it's a fun place to play, and you get to be a guy to maybe quiet it on the other side was a fun time, and don't want to bring up any games or anything like that from the past year. But no, I think when you get to play behind a crowd that's passionate, they want to win, and if they can get in another goalie's head, I usually return it with, Wedgewood, you rock, or something in my own mind just to laugh it off. But you're doing something right in the sense that, obviously they're trying to get under you and get you off your game. But, to come here, play for the fans, they're very passionate. It's a fun place to play. Talking with the guys on Dallas being a division rival in the first game of the season, there's been some jokes and things like that already. But know it well, and, obviously excited to be on the other side of it for sure.
Okay, so you just take it in your mind from "you suck" to "you rock." Like, who needs a mental health coach when you've got Scott Wedgewood, baby?
I was just going to say that Kevin Lankinen was our life coach that has now departed. And now we've got a mental skills coach. This is fantastic. I also love how he very subtly dropped in. I'm not going to bring up any games from this past season. We remember the 9-2 loss, buddy. We can just talk about it because that launched this team into an 18-game point streak. We just had to hit rock bottom before we got there. But
I love that. I was like, ooh, Scott, I am here for the petty. Let's go.
I love the petty. I'm so here for it.
Well, and I love too, like, here's what's real. Last season, Scott Wedgewood saw some of the worst of Nashville, but because he finished the third period in that 9-2 loss. So basically he had to like stand in goal and drink his Gatorade and enjoy himself. But he also was in net. This game was the worst, y'all. This game was the worst. December 23rd against Dallas. Predators were up 3-1. It's all good. I think it was 3-1, 3-2. I don't remember. All I know
3-1.
Was it 3-1?
I think.
And then the Stars, it was 3 to, I don't remember. Anyway, The Stars
Spoiler,
scored.
Preds didn't win.
Spoiler alert, it was the worst because the Stars scored 2 goals in the final 20 seconds of the game. Scott Wedgewood has sat in the goaltender's crease at Bridgestone Arena and giggled to himself a couple times last season. And then
He's
I
over
love that
there.
he mentioned it.
He's over there saying, Wedgewood, you rock.
You rock. Look at you. Take a drink. Take a drink. You're so amazing. Yeah, I thought that was great. I was like so here for the petty, my friend. Like,
I love it.
welcome. Welcome. We're gonna chat in the locker room.
We love
It's gonna
petty
be
here.
fun. We love it. Of course, if you come to Nashville, you are asked the big question. And I think this is so funny. Alex Doherty asked and he apologized for having to ask this question, but he's like, look, standard question. Do you guys like country music? Brady Skjei likes Luke Combs. He's a big
Yes.
country music fan, which let me tell you, having seen Luke Combs at Nissan Stadium, just amazing. Luke Combs is amazing. Scott Wedgewood, Old Dominion fan, likes, some old country, some new country. So, I thought that was good insight. You just got to know.
It seemed like the way that Wedgewood kind of immediately gave the floor to Skjei. He's like, "Oh yeah, go ahead,
Go get it."
I think Shay's a very low key guy. Like his personality is just kind of very subdued, but I think he's like low key a huge country fan. So that'll be good for him. Where I'm glad, when Alex asked that question and said, "I'm sorry, I have to ask," like where I thought it was going. And I'm glad it didn't. I don't know if this has ever happened to you, Anne, but like when I go on podcasts or radio shows, Mink has got some feelings too. Come on, girl. I always get asked, in other cities, where's the best place to get hot chicken?
Oh
I'm
my
like,
goodness.
come on, really? That's all you got? I'm like, because then I feel like, I don't know, can I say a certain place or, and hot chicken is just not something I have strong opinions about. I'm sorry.
I was going to
fine.
say, do you like hot chicken?
It's fine for it's, I don't know. I wouldn't make it my last meal, but I mean, it's fine. And again, I don't have strong opinions on one hot chicken establishment over the other. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm
Not
like
that I have
too.
super strong opinions about country music for that matter, but I probably know more about it than I know about hot chicken.
Yeah. I hate when people ask me that, and I've actually gotten that before because here's what's real, friends. I do not eat spicy food at all.
That is true. You don't.
Period. Like, I do not think that it is enjoyable for my tongue to feel like chapped lips. Why do you do that? So I've got nothing. And then when people say to me, like, what's a cool place to go in Nashville? And I'm like, y'all, I have been raising kids for 20 years. Like, I can tell you where the pediatrician and the Publix is. Like, that's what I can tell you. But I think it was Brady Skjei said he was meandering down Broadway and he was like, it was a Tuesday and there's live music everywhere. And I'm like, buckle up, Buttercup. Until you've seen Saturday Night on Broadway after a game.
You
it's
know
a
what?
whole thing.
As a visiting player in his career, I am sure that Brady Skjei has experienced a Saturday night on Broadway. Might be a little different now. Now that he's going to be a Nashvilleian, he's going to realize, people who live here don't actually go here.
No.
But it's a good time if you're new.
Yeah. If that's what you're into, God bless, and watch where you walk because somebody's probably yacked on the sidewalk. But
yes,
welcome to Nashville. But so it was great. Got a chance to talk to Skjei and Wedgewood again, 2 key pieces in a huge offseason. Thank you so much, Barry Trotz. This is getting serious in Nashville. Coming up next week, we're going to do a mailbag episode. So if you have a question about this new looking Predators roster, if you have a question about lineups, if you have a question about Nashville hot chicken, I don't know if we can help you, but throw it out there and we'll see what Emma says. I will not say anything. So feel free to let us know your questions. You can follow us on social media at LO_Predators. You can also get a hold of Emma and I pretty much any time if you joined our Locked On Predators Insider program via subtext. So our insiders are going to be shooting us some questions as well. We're going to be sure to get to all of those next week in our mailbag episode as well. Before we sign off, though, Emma, let everyone know where they can find you and your work.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Emma_Lingen, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
And you can find my work at Penalty Box Radio. You can find me on social media at ANK_Mama on Ice. That's going to do it for this Thursday edition of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Go check out the Locked On NHL's podcast. That could be a great second listen to keep you up to date on everything else going on in the league as well. We will be back tomorrow with an all new episode. We'll see you then.